So here we are back in the lab. We're going to take all the information that we've learned about EIGRP. We're going to build out a full routed EIGRP network, and then we'll examine the metrics and examine the routing table and play with some of the parameters to change the path that the data takes through the network. So I have built up a more complex topology than last time. It's got more than 3 routers. There are now 5 routers connected through various interfaces. And as with the previous lab, I've included the topology and the configuration for this lab as part of the work files for this section of the course. If you happen to be playing along with your own home version of the game, you can pull up this topology in your own copy of GNS3. I happen to be using Cisco 3700 routers, but the config works for pretty much any router you happen to drag into your topology. Now this topology is up. Each of these networks are on loopback addresses on these routers. There's only one network per router just for test purposes. And all of the IP routing is non-existent. Basically, the interfaces are up. They're configured with proper IP addresses. They can ping across these point-to-point links, which happen to be Ethernet links. But otherwise, there's no routing at all on this network. In fact, if we go here to Beck and do show IP route, we see just the connected networks from Beck. So we're going to implement EIGRP across the network. We're going to look at the commands necessary to do so, and then validate our configuration by changing some of the bandwidth statements on some of these point-to-point links and making sure that the metric does exactly what we would expect it to. So there's no place like the current, so let's start off and configure EIGRP on Beck. So go into config mode, we'll do router EIGRP, and the autonomous system number. It's any number between 1 and 65535. Again, the only limitation is that it has to match on all of your neighbors. In this case, we'll do router EIGRP 100, just to pick a number out of the air. Now we're in router configuration mode. Obviously, there are lots of commands that you can use to tune exactly how EIGRP works. However, for the purposes of this course, we're just going to look at the network commands. So in this case, we'll do network. We'll give it a network number. In this case, we're going to do all the point-to-point links first, and all the point-to-point links fall in the 192.168.1.0/24 network. So we'll do 192.168.1.0 with the EIGRP wildcard bits. If you've studied Cisco routers at all, you know that the wildcard is basically the inverse of the subnet mask. So you can enter 0.0.0.255, since all we care about is the last octet, and that's all you have to specify for EIGRP. We will also put the loopback in EIGRP. So now 10.10.30/24, so we'll do network 10.10.3.0, 0.0.0.255. And now we've got both of those networks in EIGRP, and EIGRP is sending hello packets across all of those network interfaces. Now there's nothing on the other end to actually accept them, so let's go configure Rose, for example, since we can see her right up there. So we'll go to Rose and go into privileged exec mode, go into config mode, router EIGRP, and the AS number, in this case we'll say 100. We'll do network 10.10.4.0, 0.0.0.255, and we'll do network 192.168.1.0, 0.0.0.255. We exit from config mode, and you see almost immediately that the neighbor comes up. We've got a new adjacency between Beck and Rose. If we do show IP route over here on Rose, we're now learning routes through EIGRP. And it's just those point-to-point routes, but we are actually learning routes nonetheless. Now, there's a command that I left off on purpose to show you what happens if you let EIGRP automatically summarize. Now, you'll recall we talked about route summarization. And most of the time, you'll design your network so that you can summarize at logical points in your network. For example, we could summarize 10.10.00/22 on this side of Beck, and we could summarize 10.10.40/22 on this side of Beck. We could summarize the network right here at the core at the Beck router. However, if you let EIGRP, or really any routing protocol, auto-summarize for you, it will auto-summarize across classful boundaries. In this case, you'll notice that 192.168.1.0/24 is a summary, and that's an auto summary route being learned through EIGRP for the Beck router. Now in this situation, this would actually work because there's only one path in and out of the Rose router over here, and that is this Ethernet link between Rose and Beck. However, you'll see when we get over here to Jade and Dave that this auto summary route messes with how the traffic goes to Beck and to the other routers in the network, because this address exists on both of these links here as well as this link between Jade and Beck. So we'll pause our implementation here. We'll pick it up in the next video.